Доброе утро, дамы и господа. I wish we were meeting in person for this conference once again. I have so many fond memories of my participation at the Translation Forum Russia in Ekaterinburg for twice actually, and at St. Petersburg. In times like this, I'm frequently asked to talk about trends and what is going on to the industry and what is going to happen in the future for the language services business as a whole. I'm asked about trends and predictions, and I don't know if this is because I'm old or because I work with data and market research. In any case, what comes to my mind is a quote like many others that is attributed to Winston Churchill, but according to the research that I have done, he never actually really said it. The quote is, "Never waste a good crisis." A crisis is a good motivator. It's an opportunity for an organization, for people to look at your business and at our profession as a whole and question things that we have taken for granted all along. Before we go any further, I would like to say that our industry as a whole is not at risk. I frequently say that the language services business is impervious to crisis. In other words, our industry grows no matter what the overall economic environment looks like. Some of you are going to say that I'm crazy because you have experienced a slowdown in your business or price erosion here and there and competition. I believe you. At a micro level, at the language pair level, at a segment level, even at a country level, your experience might include a reduction in activity and in volumes. This might be because economic conditions or even increased competition is happening everywhere. But at the macro level, when we talk about the industry as a whole, it is one of those rare segments that tend to grow no matter what. It's either the volume that grows or the number of languages or other variables, new segments appear. Another thing that happens is that the industry grows at a faster pace than the population in most countries. So there is a need to increase productivity and automation because the supply of talent is limited. So what do we do in times of crisis in a growth industry? Well, this is the time to reinvent ourselves. It is hard because we are in a transformation industry. We convert stuff that other people create. We respond to the requests of our clients. We don't really create them. How do we prepare though? How do we stay ready for change? How do we prepare for change? Understand how change happens and how to respond to it. In other words, in order to be successful, we need to be prepared to adapt. What differentiates a company that will be around in 10 years from one that will die? Well, the differentiators are flexibility and responsiveness. In the coming years, something is going to replace Adobe Illustrator the same way that Illustrator replaced FrameMaker, which replaced PageMaker, which replaced Ventura Publisher, which replaced the typewriter, which replaced pen and paper. You've done it before. You have integrated that change into your culture. Have you done that? Is that a behavior? Are you a company that says yes, or a company that wants to explain to clients how to do things? Do you talk about how they are going to use the translation that you are going to deliver, Or do you talk about MTPE and fuzzy matches? Or do you try to talk about those things? Do you show your client how much you understand about their business and their needs and their organization? Or do you try to explain to them how you work? The only way we're going to come out of the pandemic ahead of our competition is by adapting to new realities. It gives me pleasure to see several Russian companies appearing in the international scenario. SmartCat, Janus, Avatera, Logrus are great examples of companies expanding in global markets with differentiated offers. But there's room for more. There's room for you. Here at Nimdzi, we have been tracking the performance of companies during the COVID pandemic. I'm not going to bore you with graphs, curves, and statistics. What really people want to know is what is the overall impact on the industry? And that impact has been neutral. The majority of companies have remained stable or have grown, especially the top 10 companies. Less of a third of the companies have shrunk during this period. What is the pattern with the ones that have been successful? They pivoted. They changed. They moved resources from one part of the business to another. And they also reallocated resources. And those few companies that didn't believe in remote working learned that they can hire people anywhere in the world and offer services around the clock. They don't need travel as much. They don't need big offices. By now, you're thinking, well, this is all fine and dandy, Renato, but give me something concrete. Tell me what I can do now. Naturally, I'm not going to teach you everything in the few minutes of this presentation. The goal of a keynote presentation is to challenge and inspire the audience to learn from the rest of the event. So let me share 2 ideas that you can implement in your organization immediately. The first idea is design thinking. Design thinking is a problem-solving process focused on the client's experience. It's also called human-centered design or user-focused design. The approach has been around for many years, but it only started to gain traction outside of the design community in the last decade or so. The skills associated with this approach help people apply creativity to solve real-world problems. It is different from business thinking, engineering thinking, or research thinking. Here at Nimdzi, we trained all our team in design thinking methodologies to adapt our offerings to the needs of our clients. Design thinking promotes creativity and creates an environment and culture that welcomes change and innovation. I know, innovation is a big word. I am always skeptical of people who put innovation in their titles, for example, because for me, innovation is not a job, it's a mindset. It has to be part of your culture and the behaviors of your team. But let's move on to the practical side. There are 4 core principles for successful innovation that you need to promote design thinking inside your company. The first principle is build innovations around experiences. Although user experience is usually associated with software design, every company creates and affects the experiences of its users. A good example is Nike. Instead of focusing on a better shoe, they focus on designing a better athletic experience, which includes sensors on those shoes, apps, and even music playlists for their clients. Now think of your clients, not the companies, the people that interact with you. What is their experience with your company? How do they feel when they interact with you? Have you measured it? Have you placed yourself in their shoes? Have you walked a mile in their shoes, as they say? What is important for your client and what matters to her and what makes her choose you over your competitor? These are important questions that you need to answer to be able to innovate. You need to know how they feel and how they see you. The second principle is think of innovations as systems. Companies that understand that activities don't exist by themselves, but that they are connected to each other and to other parts of the organization, take a more holistic look at innovation. When you analyze the experience of that client that we talked about, have them look and think of all the touch points, how the projects come in, the communication, the delivery, the invoicing. All these activities may be performed by different people at different times. Does your client have a seamless experience with your system? Look at all the interactions that are possible. We recently worked with a client here at Nimdzi that communicated with their LSP through 12 different channels. Email, Slack, chat, SMS, you name it. The system wasn't set up for success, and the experience for both the client and the LSP was awful. The third principle is cultivate an innovation culture. Everybody knows that Apple cultivates a mindset of innovation and that it focuses on designing beautiful products and then adapting the functionality. First they design and then they create. Innovation is not a job. It is a collaborative process that brings people from different fields together to make it valuable. Innovation is also not a top-down effort. Just because you're the boss or the owner of the company doesn't mean that you can be innovative. If you want to succeed, if you want your organization to succeed, invite everybody to participate. The fourth and last principle is to adopt a disciplined innovation process. Successful innovation can and should be planned and managed like any other function in your company. You can create innovations by using well-developed and repeatable methods to support the other three principles that we have talked about. And keep in mind, and this is very important, innovation doesn't mean software. It's incredible that I get that so often. You don't need to create a new application, a new machine translation engine, a new portal to be innovative. You have no idea how often I talk to businesses and business owners that believe that by creating a new website or trying to sell a translation management system that they developed internally is innovative. It's not. One of the most innovative companies in the world is McDonald's, and all their innovations have more to do with how to do things better and faster. The movie The Founder with Michael Keaton is a good example of how innovation works at McDonald's, especially in the beginning part. So to recap, these are the four principles of design thinking for you to keep in mind. 1, build innovations around experiences. 2, think of innovations as systems. 3, cultivate an innovation culture. 4, adopt a disciplined innovation process. Now that you know about design thinking, go learn more about it. There are dozens of good books and videos on the topic. and you can get a better sense of how to implement that in your organization. The second idea that I want to share with you today is associated with a management methodology called the 4 disciplines of execution, or 4DX for short. The reason I like this approach is that allows your organization to gather around things that are really important. The methodology calls it the wildly important goals, or WIGs. Most organizations tend to measure results like revenue, profit margin, growth, and that is right. But there are things that happen before those results, what we call leading indicators. Let me illustrate this with a very simple example. For many of us, a personal goal is to lose weight. Maybe a few of you don't. I do. A clear lagging indicator that is easy to measure is how much you weigh. You step on a scale and you have your answer, X kilos. I always say that even though I am 1.90 meters tall, I am too short for my weight. I battle with that. But how do you actually reach your goal? For weight loss, there are 2 leading indicators. On one side, the calories that you consume, and on the other side, the calories that you burn. These 2 indicators are easy to influence, but very hard to measure. So basically, your leading indicators are how much you eat, because you can eat less to consume fewer calories, and how much exercise you practice, because by exercising you burn more calories. So how much you eat, how much you burn. So by measuring these 2 metrics, these are your leading indicators, you achieve your final goal of losing X kilos, which is your lagging indicator, the result. It's quite simple, right? Now, let's look at this from an LSP perspective. If you build the discipline of managing the number of conversations that you have with clients or with potential clients, the number of mentions that your company gets in the media, or the people that contact you versus the number of people that you contact, you will ultimately achieve these lagging indicators of the results that you want to achieve. This is very important for sales, but also for operations in your company. You can adopt this methodology in all the parts of your business. Learn about the difference between leading and lagging indicators and start managing the leading indicators more actively, because they are going to help you generate the real results that you want. So, to conclude our conversation today, design thinking affects your culture and helps you deal with change and innovation. Very important today. The 4 disciplines of execution affect your results. These are 2 approaches that you can use to succeed in any circumstance, but especially in a time of uncertainty and challenge like the one that we're going through right now. Go, adopt a change mentality and succeed. Спасибо.